Hey lovelies, it's Ashley, aka Thrift Addict. If you haven't watched my first video, I'll link it below, and in the first video I talk about my experiences with birth control in high school with the pill, the patch, and the NuvaRing. Most recently the NuvaRing again last year, and then how I was doing essentially as an update being on the Nexplanon implant for about 2.5 months. So I posted the video over 3 months ago. That video that's below, and in that video, just as like a quick update, with the Nexplanon being in my arm at that time, I had been experiencing like a drop or two of blood each day, just like really light spotting. But then I had also started experiencing like actual blocks of time bleeding as like a period, and I had experienced a few of those. After I posted that video, I did not experience a single day off from bleeding heavily. Full-blown period 24/7. It was non-stop, consistent, going to the bathroom every 2 to 3 hours to change my tampon and pad, sleeping in overnight pads all the time. It's really unpleasant. It was really unpleasant, and my bleeding seemed to be getting heavier and heavier and heavier, where I would just get waves of blood continuously. Now I know that's really sounds really scary to a lot of people, but I was taking iron supplements every single day, and I was also eating a lot of iron-rich foods to kind of combat the amount of blood that I was losing. So I so I went so I continued on with this, and I dealt with it for a while because I thought that it would eventually stop. The point of the Nexplanon implant is to not have a period for 3 years. You are supposed to go without. But I noticed a lot of not only bleeding but some hormonal fluctuations, and then I noticed hypersensitivity with my emotions. Like I would cry at the drop of a hat for anything. This person forgot to put a tomato on my sandwich, and I would be like, a paper would drop and I would be like, ah, and I would get a chip in my nail polish and I would just be like, that's not normal. That's not me at all. Really, that's not me at all. So that was definitely becoming a little frustrating, but I was like, I can deal with it if it will eventually even out and I won't have my period. But there didn't seem to be an end in sight, and like I said, the bleeding was getting heavier and heavier and heavier. If you get grossed out easily, this story that I'm about to tell you, you just really skip ahead. But the bleeding was so bad that one day during work, I was wearing a super tampon, like a super sized tampon, a regular pad, well, and a regular pad, I should say. No, there wasn't like anything else on top of that. Obviously underwear, but you know. Anyways, super pad, regular tampon. And that's pretty standard for me when I'm bleeding heavily. And I was going about my day, and all of a sudden I felt like a wave. You feel that, like when a period happens, you feel it. You feel sometimes when blood comes down. It's normal, it happens. Except this felt like a wave, like a tidal wave. Like at the end of The Shining when the doors open and that rush of bloody water comes out. It was just like, oh. That's what it felt like down there. It felt like the elevator had opened in The Shining. Those elevator doors just opened and it was just everywhere. And that happened 4 times. 4 times in the course of 30 minutes. I was so grateful I remembered to take my iron supplement that day, because whenever I've been on my period in the past and I've forgotten to take my iron supplement and I bleed a lot that day, I feel very woozy, I feel weak, I feel a little shaky, and I feel very fatigued. I'm so grateful I remembered my iron supplement, or I probably would have collapsed onto the floor at that point. And I had bled through my super sized tampon. I had literally soaked through it. I had soaked through my pad. I bled through my underwear, and I was very lucky that I was wearing black tights, because if I hadn't have been wearing tights, or if I had been wearing a different colored tights, I would have A, bled down my leg, or B, ruined those tights. So I turned to my boss and I said, I have to go to Target right now, and I don't know how long it will take before I'm back. And she said, go my child, be free. So I went to Target, and I realized that not only did I need to buy new underwear, but I had forgotten to pack like supplies. I'd forgotten to pack a tampon and a pad to change throughout the day. That was really bad on my part. So I had to buy a whole new thing of tampons, I had to buy a whole new thing of pads, and I had to buy baby wipes, and then I had to go into the bathroom, change my underwear, clean my underwear, clean my tights, and clean myself up and then just kind of like redo my whole situation and then go back to work. So I was gone for quite a while, and that was not the only occurrence where I had shining like floods happen, but that was like the first one that was like, whoa, that's a lot of blood in a short period of time. And I told people this, and they were like, how are you still standing? But because I was eating so much iron rich foods and taking my iron supplements, I didn't really experience the physical side effects of bleeding so much, other than the constant irritation of having to go to the bathroom every 2 to 3 hours to change my tampon and pad. But I got to a point where I didn't see an end in sight. It wasn't letting up even for a brief period of time. And it was just getting heavier and heavier, and it was just relentless. And so I discussed it with my family and friends, and they said, you need to make an appointment. That's not normal. You need to make an appointment. And so I said, okay. So I made an appointment at Planned Parenthood, and I went to talk to a woman there, a doctor. And I was speaking with the doctor, and she checked me for anemia, and she said, you're doing a great job with your food and your iron supplements because you're nowhere even near anemic. You are perfectly 100% normal and healthy, because they go by a number scale, and I was right in the middle where a normal person should be. And she said, because this is not actually affecting you negatively health-wise, you're good iron-wise, like you are not anemic. She said, it's really a question of quality of life at this point. Are you okay with bleeding continuously? Because you might not stop for a while. She told me about a woman that had been in 2 hours before her that had been bleeding for 9 months straight. She took out the Nexplanon. She obviously took out the woman's implant. And she told me about, she's had other people in her office that bled for like a day and then never bled again. So she said everyone's body reacts to birth control differently. So you are not in danger of anything going on with your body. You're not in danger of like dropping dead at any minute. So really this is up to you, and this is a personal choice. And so I thought about it, and I made the decision to get it taken out. Now, the hypersensitivity with my emotions came into play big time, because when I got it put in last September, I was literally sitting on like the thing, just chilling like this, my arm propped up, and they were literally cutting open my arm and putting it in while I was talking with someone. They were just like, ch-ch-ch, and I'm just like, da, 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 da. And that was that. And it was done in like 2 seconds. It was the easiest thing ever. This time around, same thing. They're gonna cut open my arm and just take it out. It will take like 2 seconds. However, I started crying, and I had a panic attack. My emotions were so heightened, and my hormones were just like so up here that like I started crying and shaking, and I had a panic attack, and I don't know why. And when it took such a long time. It took such a long time because I kept like panicking and like crying, and they kept having to calm me down, and I felt really, really bad. And finally they had to have a nurse come in and hold your hand. And when you're a grown adult, having to have someone come in and hold your hand, that is one of the most sobering, grounding, humbling feelings in the world. It doesn't matter how much of a hotshot you think you are, when you start crying and have to hold another person's hand, like in the room for something so simple that you had done like 5 months earlier that didn't cause that kind of reaction, it just made me feel like, okay, like it just really, it brought me down multiple notches. So I was crying as she was taking out and shaking, and like one of the nurses had to come in and like hold my hand, and she told me afterwards, after the procedure, she said, I believe you did the right thing. I couldn't influence you one way or other prior to you making the decision, but now you made the decision, we have it taken out. I believe you did the right thing, and I will put you on another birth control if you want. And my partner and I, we want to have unprotected sex. We're both clean, but we don't want children, so of course we wanted birth control. And so I got on the low dose hormonal birth control pill. I decided to give it a shot, and it was on a Tuesday. I had the Nexplanon taken out. Now, after the Nexplanon was taken out, before I took my first low dose hormonal birth control pill, I began to feel normal almost immediately, because it's such a low dose with the Nexplanon. It's such a low dose that it leaves your system very quickly. And so by that evening, I felt normal. I felt really great. Well, I took the pill Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. because you have to take it at a time when you know you'll be able to take it around that same time every single night. So that for me is the evening. That's the only time I know will be consistent every single night. Anyways, by Friday, I was so low emotionally. Now, keep in mind, the super ridiculously low dose Nexplanon had me like this up here. The higher dose, but still low dose hormonal birth control pill had me so low within 3 days that you could have murdered everyone I love in front of me, and I would have just been like, that wasn't cool, and then go on and do whatever I was going to be doing. There was nothing. There was literally, it was like my heart, it was like the Grinch heart. It was a Grinch heart. There was nothing, just stone, just black. That's how I felt. But at the same time, I also wanted to like destroy everything around me. I can't even explain how low I felt emotionally. It was just so terrible. And I just remember thinking, I can't do this. I can't do this. I cannot do this. So I didn't take the pill that evening, the Friday night, and I woke up Saturday and I felt about 50% better. And I said, okay, the low dose hormonal birth control pill is causing this feeling. This isn't depression caused by anything else. So I stopped taking it and I threw all of the pills away. I had a 4-month supply and I just went into the trash. Now, after taking the birth control pill for 3 days and stopping taking it, my body thought it was period time again. So I had a period again. And I'm on my second non-birth control period. And since then, I have felt much more normal. I have lost weight until this past week when I kind of forgot that 2 days before my period, I kind of start to get the munchies. And the night before my period, I'm like a crazy pregnant woman. I kind of forgot about that. Like, that's something you wouldn't think you forget about, but I kind of did. And so, like, the night before my period, I was like, why can't I stop eating? And then the next morning, I started bleeding, and I'm like, oh, I remember that now. Okay, so now I know from, I remember now. Okay, my bad. I know from now on that that's what that is. So, when I feel those crazy pregnancy, like, things, I'll just, do yoga or drink lots of hot tea or go for a run or something. Not go into the kitchen and eat half of it. Anyways, but I've noticed a little bit of acne. Like, I have one here, I have one here, and I have one here. But it's not really too bad. Emotionally, like, mentally, I feel level again. My body feels like, oh, it's just, I feel like me again. I don't feel influenced by anything, and I don't have those hormones in my body. I'm really grateful that I took out the Nexplanon, and that I'm no longer on birth control. I'm just really giving my body a chance to detox and just be normal. And I've been contemplating other forms of birth control, such as the copper, the non-hormonal IUD, which is copper. I'm very scared though, because with the copper one, I've heard that it's supposed to increase your cramping and bleeding a lot. And I already have a problem with bleeding very, very heavily and having really, really, really bad cramps on my period. I forget what that condition is called when people have such terrible cramps that they have to like go on like morphine. I think I had a coworker who had it, and it was pretty bad. I'm not that status where I have to go on morphine every single month during my period, but it's pretty bad. Like, it's really, really bad what women in our family have experienced, because my grandmother dealt with it, my mother dealt with it, and then I'm kind of dealing with it now, which is why I've experimented with so many different birth controls. But this period, I felt pain. I felt a good amount of pain. So pretty much from now on, I'm kind of, I'm gonna be like putting positive vibes out into the universe that maybe my body won't experience so much pain anymore. Like, maybe, but realistically, I know for a fact that without being on birth control, I just have really painful periods, and that's just simply what it is. But I want to be on a birth control. I just don't want the influence of hormones in my body, because putting synthetic hormones in my body, I don't like it. It just doesn't work. And I am grateful to be able to say that it didn't, like, nothing really permanent or nothing too terrible happened to me. And I hope that my experiences thus far have, can kind of be of use to somebody out there. I hope that, if you're choosing a birth control method, that this is helpful, or if you just wanted an entertaining story for the evening, that this is entertaining. I have talked enough for one evening, so thank you lovelies for listening, and I will talk to you guys later. Alright, bye!